When everything becomes cheap enough to win, no one actually wins. Throughout history, no economic system has ever escaped the side effects of an endless pursuit of efficiency. And today, the story of China, the world's most powerful industrial engine, is the most visible example of this truth. For decades, China's rise wasn't just fast, it appeared unstoppable. This massive production machine built on efficiency worked so flawlessly that outsiders often thought it was not a country, but a grand-scale engineering project. Cities that never slept, assembly lines that turned night into day, millions of workers moving in rhythmic harmony, entire systems from logistics to banking aligned toward a single goal. Every new year prices fell, quality rose, and China left the rest of the global economy gasping for air. At some point, Western competitors stopped even trying. China shined as the perfect combination of scale, discipline, and state-driven planning. It turned human labor into economic power, treating its workforce not as a cost, but as the core of national strategy. But like all miracles, this one also came with a price. And ironically, China's greatest advantage, its ability to produce everything faster, cheaper, and bigger, slowly became the very mechanism pulling it downward. Money, power, and history collided here. Until this moment, one truth had gone unquestioned. Growth comes before anything else. This became the sacred law of modern capitalism. Yet nothing can accelerate forever. An economy eventually weakens the faster it grows, and shrinks internally the larger it becomes. This is exactly the fracture point in China's story. In a system where production, efficiency, and exports are rewarded above all else, the machine keeps running, even if the costs threaten the future. So what happens when one of the world's largest economies optimizes itself into exhaustion? What happens when growth relies not on innovation, but on cutting prices? To understand the answer, we must return to 1978, the beginning of the Chinese miracle. When Deng Xiaoping stepped forward, China wasn't just economically closed, it was psychologically closed. The nation carried the weight of decades when ideological purity was valued above economic reality. Deng shattered one of the Communist Party's deepest taboos. To get rich is glorious. This wasn't merely a slogan, it was the spark of an economic revolution. Farmers became entrepreneurs. Personal wealth gained legitimacy for the first time. Rural areas filled with factories. Western investors were first confused, then intrigued. Cheap labor, a massive population, and a government willing to support production. It was the most efficient ecosystem global capitalism could imagine. China tested a small experiment: special economic zones. These zones were laboratories where rules were loosened, bureaucracy minimized, and ideology pushed aside. The goal was simple: attract capital, produce, and export. The experiment exploded into success. Shenzhen, a small fishing town of 30,000, quickly turned into an industrial giant with millions of residents and endless factories. China had discovered the formula for growth. Within 20 years, every province wanted its own Shenzhen. Local leaders raced to open the gates to global capitalism. Funding was needed, and borrowing was not a problem. Highways, megaports, power plants, logistics hubs, the entire nation was redesigned as one colossal production line. By the 2000s, this machine reached full capacity. China wasn't just growing anymore, it was absorbing global demand. Steel, coal, oil, rare metals. If something could be produced, China was about to produce it cheaper. Western companies facing cost pressure saw only one option: move production to China. In a way, China wasn't just selling products to the West, it was taking over its industrial muscles. But underneath this success lay a hidden, dangerous structure. The winner was always the cheapest. Local governments cut taxes to attract factories. Wages were kept low. Land prices were subsidized. Companies were forced to operate on razor-thin margins. Businesses didn't innovate, they competed by lowering prices. This race to the bottom went unnoticed at first because the machine was powerful and seemingly infinite. Millions of rural workers poured into cities each year. Everyone believed the system could continue forever. Western consumers only saw the shiny side of the story. $5 t-shirts, $300 iPhones. The illusion of low inflation. China seemed richer, but beneath the surface, a fracture was forming. The machine was growing so fast that it began collapsing under its own weight. Local officials, factories, and companies were all addicted to the reward of growth. Projects funded by debt required even bigger projects to pay the old ones back. Like a bicycle that must keep moving to stay upright, China's economy could not afford to slow down. By 2015, China's steel capacity exceeded the entire world's demand. And not just steel, cement, chemicals, automobiles, furniture, production far exceeded what the world actually needed. Naturally, prices fell. But this wasn't the result of innovation. It was the result of panic-filled competition. As profits dropped, factories increased production instead of cutting it. They believed volume would save them. It didn't. The economy was moving in the wrong direction, and no one wanted to hit the brakes. In this environment, a new concept emerged. Involution, working more, gaining less. At first, it applied to individuals. More education, more hours, more effort, but fewer rewards. Soon it expanded beyond personal experience. It became a systemic illness spreading across industries. Companies fell into the same trap. More production, less profit. Solar panels, electric vehicles, batteries. China's new pride industries flooded the global market. But this time competition wasn't limited to price. State-backed companies pumped infinite capacity into markets, forcing everyone to slash prices. Profit margins evaporated. Yet no one dared to stop, because stopping production signaled political failure. The result: China entered a cycle where efficiency devoured profit. This wasn't innovation. It was a race to the bottom. And races to the bottom share one destiny. No one wins. Today, China sells solar panels below cost. Electric vehicles sit idle in warehouses. Even tech giants fight over shrinking domestic demand. Despite breaking export records, industrial profits fell 20% in 2024. Because when everyone competes to be the cheapest, the only thing left to fall is the price. This isn't capitalism accelerating. It's capitalism eating itself. China has seen this before. In the 2000s, when steel and coal prices collapsed, the government forcibly cut capacity. Thousands of factories closed. Hundreds of thousands of workers lost jobs. What was once an isolated crisis has now spread across the entire economy. The government faces an impossible question. Is it more dangerous to slow the machine down or keep it running? Cutting capacity lowers growth, closes factories, and punishes local officials. Keeping it running kills profits, inflates debt, and consumes the future. By the 2020s, China's once miraculous efficiency engine had become a self-destructive arms race. What looked like strength from the outside was erosion from within. Shrinking margins, ballooning debt, stagnant wages. Overcapacity was no longer a mistake, it was a policy. And the great paradox emerged. When you make everything cheap enough to win, in the end, nobody wins. China is experiencing exactly this today. China's economic situation is not merely a growth model reaching its limits. It's a sign that the global economic system itself is hitting its boundaries. China's industrial engine wasn't powered by its own population. It was powered by the world's. But as global population growth slows and societies age, consumer demand naturally declines. People no longer feel the need to buy a new phone every year. Cars last longer. Durable goods have longer replacement cycles. Meanwhile, China's capacity continues accelerating artificially. When the world slows and China accelerates, the gap becomes explosive overcapacity. This is not a textbook abstraction. It has tangible consequences. Empty housing projects, half-filled malls, unsold car inventories, mountains of unused solar panels in warehouses. These are not just signs of overproduction. They are signs of overexpectation. China grew by pulling future consumption into the present. Now the future is arriving empty-handed. There is also a psychological layer to this. For decades, growth in China wasn't purely economic. It was a national mission. Working faster, building bigger, attracting more investment, these weren't just financial goals, but symbols of China's rise. Today, reducing capacity is seen not just as a policy change, but an ideological retreat. Growth is being questioned in China for the first time in its modern history. Yet no economy can grow forever. Every growth model is eventually tested by its own success. China's achievements became so massive that they left no room for structural flexibility. Yes, the country leads in tech manufacturing. Yes, it dominates exports. But when the profits behind that production evaporate, growth loses meaning. Because a nation can sell products without creating wealth. In that case, it isn't getting richer. It's simply getting tired. And that is exactly what China is experiencing today. A tired economy that is not getting richer. This fatigue is everywhere. Workers, companies, local governments, consumers, and especially the young. College graduates struggle to find jobs because companies with shrinking margins can't hire. Firms can't invest because profits barely cover debt. Local governments can't continue infrastructure projects because paying interest on old loans is now a burden. So China faces the biggest question of its economic history. How can this cycle be broken? Option 1. Forcibly cut capacity. But this time, the problem spans every sector, not just steel or coal. Option 2. Boost domestic consumption. But Chinese consumers are historically frugal, and uncertainty increases savings, not spending. Option 3. Break upward through innovation. China is trying chips, AI, biotech, space tech, but innovation is the child of freedom, not control. Creativity requires risk, openness, and friction. These are limited. None of the options are painless. Therefore, China stands at a historic crossroads. Either reinvent its growth model or watch the model consume itself. The global implications are enormous. China is not merely a country. It is the center of supply chains, the anchor of commodity prices, the backbone of global manufacturing. A capacity crisis in China can shut down factories worldwide, crash prices, or push entire nations into budget crises. The world is so entangled with China that when China slows, the world slows. When China cuts prices, the world faces deflation. When China raises capacity, the world drowns in excess. Thus, China's overcapacity problem is not just an economic imbalance. It's a potential fracture in the global order. The logic that brought us here, cheaper, faster, more, is reaching its limits. Cheaper eventually loses value. Faster eventually loses control. More eventually loses meaning. China stands at the center of this paradox. The machine still runs, but no longer forward, rather inward, collapsing onto itself. The more it produces, the less it earns. The less it earns, the more it feels compelled to produce. This cycle will not change unless something fundamental breaks. In the end, the same truth returns. When an economy is forced to become cheaper, it is forced to consume its own future. And no system that consumes its future can stand for long. China's economy is still gigantic, still powerful, still the world's most influential industrial force. But the real question is no longer about size. How long can this model, this speed, this competition, and this cost structure remain sustainable? This is where the real fracture begins.